Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Latter-day Struggles. This is your host, Valerie. So excited to be here with you today. It's kind of fun here to be in the year 2026, in a new place, recording from a new location, recording on YouTube, although we haven't gone live as far as like YouTube lives yet. One thing at a time, people. Give me a minute to get accustomed to each of these things. But I am here today actually in the spirit of growing and evolving and living in the uncertainty of how to proceed, like literally, we're talking in personal life, but also in the growth of this platform. This was not something that I ever signed up to do or anticipated evolving as it has. And yet at the same time, I couldn't be more grateful for the chance I have to get to sort of build this plane as I'm flying it. And to that end, today I have a really fun announcement to make, something that we are jumping into in an effort to expand our reach and meet the needs of as many people as possible who are at every stage of the faith journey in and around the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. As many of you know from some of the researchers that I have had as guests on the Latter-day Struggles podcast, the faith crisis the phenomenon of the faith crisis here in the LDS Church is growing rapidly every year. There are even some statistics that say it's doubling every several years. It's a really big phenomenon, and I'm not here to say I'm happy to report that. A lot of people are in the pain that's accompanying a faith crisis, but I also will say that because and I know that a faith crisis is actually the catapult to one's expanding faith. And what this actually means is that their consciousness is awakening and that they are on a transformative journey that they just don't know about when they're on when they're having those first tremors of the faith crisis. And so it is actually a good thing. It doesn't feel like a good thing, but it is. And so as I have listened to and learned from these researchers, I have felt very, very called and I guess really motivated to figure out what I can do to be, in my own little way, to do the most good and to expand the reach of what this platform offers as much as possible. And so to that end, what we are going to begin doing here on the Latter-day Struggles platform is called the Live Fellowship. Now, you've already heard of the Friday Fellowship. This is something slightly different. The Friday Fellowship does not go away, but the Live Fellowship is this. It is going to be, starting very soon, a live Zoom conversation, or you could call it a gathering, a group, a meeting, maybe not a group, because I don't want to confuse that with my other groups, but it's a live discussion 2 times a month to discuss what we are talking about on the Latter-day Struggles podcast. Okay, so keep in mind that this is going to cover sometimes Monday content and sometimes Friday content. And I have lots of methods to my madness on this, which I will kind of go through here. But what I really want this to be is an offering that meets the needs of you wherever you are on your faith expansion journey in or around the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so in order to kind of give you a lay of the land, I want to share with you, a little bit of a peek behind the curtains here, a bit of a sense of what we are offering here, because we have developed 5 learning tiers here on the Latter-day Struggles platform. And I want to just share those with you so that you can kind of figure out, or maybe you don't have to figure it out because I'm just going to tell you, you can kind of see where this new live fellowship falls. Okay, so the first tier of our learning platform is the Monday episode. This is something that is, of course, open to anyone and everyone. We want you to share it far and wide, free of charge, happens every single Monday. And for those of you who are brand new to this, or maybe this is being shared with you for the first time, Our Monday episodes is kind of the original Latter-day Struggles podcast. It's for those who are perhaps earlier in the faith journey as opposed to the Friday episodes. So they're earlier in their faith journey, but they also are always relevant because it's on the Monday episodes that I have all of my scholars, my feminists, my theologians, authors. People come on with me and we talk about all things connected to growth and development, theology, psychology, philosophy, feminism, all of these things in and around the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So all of the guests come on the Monday episodes. They are always psychologically informed, and they help you better understand what you might be experiencing if you are having a faith expansion journey that you might think is a faith crisis at the beginning. And it's oftentimes a crisis because it doesn't make sense to you. Then you jump into the Latter-day Struggles platform and you realize, oh my goodness, this wasn't a crisis after all. Or maybe it was, and now it isn't anymore. So these Monday episodes also are always going to be, if we have to respond to, well, I say have to, but oftentimes when a current event happens connected to the faith journey, like a news release or something that is needing to be discussed or processed, I oftentimes get flooded with requests to come on and comment or do an analysis of something. Those will always be on the Monday episodes. Also, I have I pivot in and out of one of my favorite things to do on the Monday episodes is we talk about a reframing of LDS doctrine and theology. It's basically taking some of the big ideas that we learned as children in primary and then integrating them into our lives as we ourselves evolve. And so this is a practice of taking taking the core of Mormon theology, throwing out what doesn't work and integrating what does work in a way that really works for us. And I take a topic by topic. Sometimes we have like one on like prayer, what is scripture study. We've talked about the evolving nature of spiritual experiences as we move through stages of faith. And so those you'll hear on the Monday episodes as well. Sometimes I also invite people who have been on a faith expansion journey to share their experiences, whether it be somebody who has had some really profound and interesting experiences through my growth and processing groups, or someone who has something to share about their unique faith journey. These Monday episodes are about building autonomy and confidence and helping us all recognize that we've always had the built rights, like right within us. We've always had a higher self that is capable of determining and discerning our own destinies. But for the most part, developmentally, we weren't ready yet until we go on a faith crisis, or actually it's the faith crisis that is sort of awakening us to this personal authority. And that's why it sort of feels like a crisis, because so much of our community around us does not endorse that or even think that it's okay. And so the Latter-day Struggles Monday episodes are really a way to help us find our center and become grounded in our earlier faith journey. Now that's tier one. Tier two is the Friday Fellowship. And I am so pleased at the growth of the Friday Fellowship. There's several hundred of you in there, and I am just beyond delighted at this, mainly because what this says to me is that there are many, many, many of you who are, in fact, evolving to a deeper and richer understanding of yourself as a spiritual being. I call the Latter-day Struggles Friday episodes Latter-day Struggles 2.0. Also, the tagline there is transcending and including Mormonism. And what we do on the Friday episodes is a deep, deep dive into what it means to be a spiritual being that both appreciates the foundations of Mormonism, but transcends many of the sort of the more rigid, dogmatic, literal ways that we used to understand theology and the doctrines of the church. And so we transcend and pick up a new, more broad, expansive, more love-infused worldview, but we also include what we learned from and the value of and the necessity of going through that earlier stage faith as basically building blocks of our the structure of faith that we are working in right now. And who we are today will eventually be transcended and will include today's version of ourselves in the transcendent future version of ourselves down the road. And so I really want to help us, each and every one of us in the Friday Fellowship, learn about how to do that. We talk a lot about consciousness awakening. We talk about how to understand and become whole from multiple perspectives. This just in a very small little nutshell. We talk about evolving states of consciousness, lots of work on psychological stages of development. We talk about shadow work. We talk about how there are multiple perspectives that need to be looked at as we evolve and grow. I really inform everything that I do on the Friday Fellowship through transpersonal psychology, which means I really focus on this an intersection between psychology of the mind here, but also that we are more than our experiences in this life, that we are deeply spiritual beings, and that spirituality is, in fact, about having a direct experience with the divine. It's not about learning the right principles. It's about actually experiencing the divine firsthand. That's what we do, and that's what I really, really focus on in terms of the advanced content on the Friday Fellowship, or the 2.0. We also talk about a reconstruction of God, because for so many people in their early Latter-day Saint faith journey, there's seems to be no alternative to the Western Christian white grandpa in the sky that is punitive and requiring of blood sacrifice. And so we talk a lot about other ideas, deeper, richer ideas about God that actually are resonant with the core of all of the great wisdom traditions. I'm very, very keyed in the 2.0 Friday version of the Latter-day Struggles podcast on not only Western psychology, but how Western psychology meets Eastern spirituality. I'm also, just to give sense of like what these Friday podcasts are, is it's for those of you who feel right now at the moment that you're spiritual or not, but not religious. I also want to meet the needs of those of you out there who find yourself being culturally religious, but personally spiritual. Did you catch what I was saying there? There's some of us that still want to and long for community worship. And sometimes that community worship is Mormon in nature because it's so deeply a part of our identity. But we also want a separate track to deeper spirituality that we are not necessarily going to find in Mormonism, as it is fundamentally more of an early stage faith tradition. The good news, too, is that as we deepen and broaden our understanding of the spiritual journey, we can actually find some of the rich, beautiful mysticism inside of Mormonism that isn't really accessible in earlier stage faith. And I can say that firsthand. It's only now that I'm sometimes able to see how some of what I never saw in Mormon theology does take me to opportunities to find or to experience direct access to the divine. And so it's a really, really beautiful way to not only differentiate from some of the more rigid, more challenging parts of Mormonism, but to also not throw it out, to not let it go completely. And for those of you, and I know there are lots and lots of you out there, that you've moved in many ways beyond it, but it is still very much a part of you. And this is a way that we can hold both. So tier number 1 is Monday episodes. Tier number 2 is the Friday Fellowship. Now, tier number 3 is the brand new one. Tier number 3 of what we offer you here on the Latter-day Struggles platform is this live fellowship. And what that means is that, have you ever listened to either a Monday episode, or perhaps you finished a series, or maybe a Friday episode or a Friday series, and you're just dying to talk about it? I know you're out there because I get your emails. I get your messages on social media. And I can't tell you how many I've received. I actually have a file of them because they're so deeply meaningful, and you're just sort of overwhelmed with the thoughts and the feelings and the aha moments and the awakenings, the blinders falling off that happen after both tracks of the podcast. And you just want somebody to talk to about it. And I'm lucky enough that I get your emails, and I'm actually kind of thinking about this right on the fly, that I'm like, wait a minute, don't stop sending me those, because that's kind of like my nourishment. for the day in a lot of the work that I do, where I'm just putting my head down and studying and creating content and things like that. So don't stop sending those. But I really want to be a means of connecting you to that very thing. I want to expand the capacity that the work that we do and the learning that we're experiencing together as we listen to the Mondays and the Fridays episodes, that you can actually take that content and have a place of deeper, like, processing, where we can ask questions, where we can come together. As I mentioned before, these will happen twice a month, and sometimes we will cover Monday content, and sometimes we will cover Friday content. So if you're someone who hasn't yet listened to the Friday content, then maybe that's not for you, but you come to the Monday thing. And by the way, when you join the live fellowship, you get the Friday content. It's included. So it's all bundled together, and you can jump in for whatever topic you want, and you can sort of pick and choose how you want this to look. But it is going to be 24 sessions throughout the year. And I'm not going to lie to you, I probably will throw in a couple of bonus ones too from time to time, because I'm selfishly doing this a little bit for myself too. Every once in a while, I produce something that lights me up so much, I just want to talk about it. And I want to hear what you have to say, and I want to listen and learn and hear your experiences. And so sometimes I might throw something extra in, but I guarantee I commit to 24, which is two times a month. We will get together and we will process what is going on the podcast itself. So tier number 1 is the Monday episodes. Tier number 2 is the Friday fellowship, which continues to give you access to the Friday content. And then tier number 3 is the live fellowship, where we come together twice a month and process either the Monday or the Friday content. Okay, let's move on to tier number 4, which is my tried and true Old Faithful growth and processing groups. I've been doing these for 3+ years. I can't even tell you how many I've run. Many hundreds have graduated from these, and I just could not love them enough. Is that how you say it? I couldn't love them enough. I couldn't love them more. I don't know, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. I really, really, really love these. These are an enormous amount of work for me, but I'm happy to report the effectiveness and the success of these experiences they surpass my expectations by a long shot. And the bonus that I experience personally is that you have become my nearest and dearest. And you know who you are. If you're in a group now, or if you've been in a group, you are forever. You're my people. And this, and I am blessed by you every day for trusting me and wanting healing enough to pause your lives for 2, 3, 4 semesters of work pretty much every week for an hour and a half. And something that I could have never anticipated in a million years, but I kind of love, is that I have become a faith journey matchmaker. And I don't mean that in the romantic sense of the word, but it's been so rewarding to see how many friendship groups have formed through these Latter-day Struggles depth and processing groups. And I don't have any plan to stop them, but I am slowing down the number of groups that I am running, just so that I can maintain my own work-life balance. And so part of what I'm doing here is still doing a few of those groups. And I do have 4 semesters of content now, but I'm expanding my reach in the live fellowship so that we can meet the needs of some people just in different places. Okay, so last tier of all that I won't say too much about, but that is the individual work that I do. I consistently reserve a handful of hours a week to be in connection with those who need consulting. Either that's individual consulting, or I do, the vast majority of the work that I do is actually with couples. I work with a lot of mixed faith married couples wrestling with the extreme dysregulation that is inevitable when someone in the marriage embarks on a faith journey, and it really throws the relationship into a lot of, disequilibrium. And so I thoroughly enjoy that, and I find it just so much. I just love that work as well. So the 5 tiers are here for you. Everything from the free Mondays to the Friday fellowship, and then you can throw on top of that, if you want, you can join the live fellowship. And then beyond that, if you want to join one of my growth and processing groups. And then finally, there's the individual or the couples consulting that I do. So I've already kind of answered my own question here. That sometimes happens when I sort of organize my thoughts and write them down, and then I get to them and I'm like, oh, wait, I already said that. So this might be a little bit of a briefer, overview for you, but I kind of in the spirit of just processing for myself and organizing my own thoughts, in getting ready to jump on here and talk to you all, I thought to myself, okay, now let's just spend a minute talking about, or at least thinking about, why am I doing this? For one thing, as I've mentioned before, it's just sheer and utter selfishness. I just like to be with you all. Talking to myself on a computer, as gratifying as that might feel, it's not that gratifying. I mean, I love putting the thing together, but that's probably why I kind of got emotional a minute ago when I was talking about the groups, is when I put something together and I get to sit with you and we talk and I listen and we process, and especially when people are able to share how their lives are transforming because of what they're experiencing in their own, everyday lives, because of what we're working on together. I mean, nothing fills me up more than that. And so I selfishly just want more access to you and to those of you who may not be quite ready for the depth of the growth and processing groups, but you want to have somewhere to go when you listen to the Latter-day Struggles podcast, Monday or Friday episodes. And keep in mind a couple things that we've already considered, myself and my team, is that we will make sure that we don't have any of these live fellowship gatherings. Well, let me say that differently. We'll make sure we wait a few days so that everybody, that are really interested can listen. And we will try to keep, somewhat current on, like, most of the time what we'll talk about is something that recently dropped, but not so recently that you didn't get a chance to listen. I think I managed to get that out. Healing and learning is infinitely enhanced when it is interactive, right? And so there's something about, and I can say this definitely firsthand, and you can ask Nathan, poor guy. There's something about reading something, but it's amplified by 100 score, in my opinion, when I get to say, guess what I just learned about? I'm so excited about this. This is so mind-blowing. Or I'm really chewing on this. I don't think I understand it. Can I talk you through it? And will you help me understand what you think about it? That's what I want this space to be for us, that we come together as a little community and we take this content and we connect with one another and we learn from one another, and it solidifies and deepens and broadens what's actually happening inside of us as we evolve and grow and expand our consciousness as our faith is evolving. Okay, so that right there is just about a deepening, healing thing. And I got a little bit ahead of myself because, do you remember I actually started with my selfishly just wanting to be with you? That's actually my entire, my point number 2. So point number 1 was just, I want to enhance healing potential. Point number 2 is I am like passionate, and it's grown even more as I've been doing this. I have the hugest appetite to create community. I wish I had been gathering these notes as I've been reading them, and I sometimes do this with other topics, and sadly I have not been doing that with this topic, but I have read across the last few years, while I've been reading about faith development and consciousness development and just the development of the human being, especially in the context of faith transition or faith expansion, that what humans need is community. We need community because what's happening in our lives, and let me just like zone in or zoom in on Mormonism, is so much of our early development and faith, spiritual formation is community oriented, and we feel so such a sense of like belonging, like the theology might even be secondary to the fact that we belong to a community and our community makes sense to us and we feel safety in all believing and thinking and feeling the same way. Now, this isn't a Mormon phenomenon, by the way. This is a human phenomenon, but it's a very strong pull in Mormonism. And it's a motivation to continue to believe that way because believing a certain way has the added benefit of all of the community perks that comes with it. And so when our souls have the audacity to grow, guess what the occupational hazard of that is? Loneliness, loss of community, no one to talk to sometimes. And so because I have come to realize that for some few people, they can find that or carve that out at home, in a marriage, in a gospel doctrine class or relief society or priesthood. That can happen. And I hope it happens, more and more as the years go by. I don't want to give up on that hope, but I also know that it's a big ask and it's not very common. And so what I've been noticing in my reading is that when human beings evolve and they are in the process of sort of being misunderstood more and more and more, especially by their spiritual communities, what they have done over and over and over again is they form side communities. They form little pocket communities and find one another so that they can still reap the benefits of connection and communion in the learning that they are experiencing. And as I have read that over and over again, it kind of like lit me up a little bit as I saw it actually happening through my depth healing, growth, and processing groups, the faith expansion healing and the patriarchy healing groups that I do. And it's 4 semesters of curriculum that I have now. And it happens, it works. I am a witness to that. And yet at the same time, I've been thinking to myself, how do I reach more people? Because in each and every one of those cases, those are small groups. They're maximum like 25 people. And I want to be able to reach more people in a way that is not cost prohibitive and that as many people as possible can access these things. And so this was when sort of the light bulb went on in my head. And I was like, I think that's what I want to do. I want to create a space, a side community where people can come together and we can process the content that we're listening to on the Latter-day Struggles platform. And it's for people on the entire spectrum of growth, right? And so it's for people that are both just really interested in the earlier content or the broader content. And it's also really good for the people that are later on. And to that end, because I tell you, I am so passionate about the community development side of this, I want to, in each and every one of these groups where we meet, I keep saying groups, and I'm trying to stay away from groups because I don't want them to be confused. So back to the let me a second to regroup here. So we've got the live fellowship gathering. So when we get together, we gather together. This is, by the way, this is not a closed thing. So in other words, as many people as want to can come to participate, to ask the questions, to listen to my little, we'll have a discussion about whatever the topic is, as I mentioned before. But at the end of every single one of these live fellowship gatherings, we are going to do little breakout groups because, of course, Zoom has that feature. And what we're going to do is we are going to divide you into regions because, once again, sort of hearkening back to my depth and processing groups, it's really, really fun to learn about people gathering together in person. As much as I am grateful for Zoom, because we couldn't do this if we didn't have Zoom, but also there is something very special about our getting together in person. And so I'm committed to creating spaces for you to meet people that live around you. And I know this is probably, it's not a coincidence that I am inspired to do this right now, because beginning of 2026, I've just relocated. And I would practically give my right arm to find somebody in person that is on the faith journey that would, be my friend. So this is definitely very personal to me. So I want this for you because I want this for me. And so if you join or as you join the Life Fellowship, you can know that not only will you come twice a month to connect, to learn, to deepen your understanding of things, to hear what other people are processing, guided by me every time, but also you will have the opportunity to truly find community that lives geographically close to you. And of course, I can't make any promises as far as like how close, but it is my goal that we separate people regionally. And we'll have to tweak and play with this depending on, the size of this growing community and whatnot. But we're going to do everything that we can to create strong bonds of community so that none of us has to feel alone on this journey. It's also occurred to me playing with these ideas and some of my team, the spirit of brainstorming, we sort of talked also about maybe every once in a while dividing people according to where they are on the faith journey. Sometimes maybe we'll sometimes even do other uh, breakout groups. Perhaps we can sometimes let the women get together and the men get together, and so that you can also make friends with people that relate to you in other ways. And of course, those on the LGBTQ plus spectrum, you can go where you self-select, and we will make that happen. It's also occurred to me that maybe there may be some of you out there that wonder if there's anyone out there that is in their 60s that is on a faith journey, and I'm the only one, and I don't know what to do. I've heard people say that have been in my groups that are sort of anomalous, whether it be, on either end of the age spectrum. And it kind of occurs to me like, gosh, what I wouldn't love more than to help people create deep connection with others that have similar Latter-day Saint roots, but that feel somewhat alone, and they might find someone out there that will be a life-changing resource of friendship and support and connection. So I'm kind of getting emotional even talking about it, because it just lights me up to think that this is something that we can do together. Okay. So we've talked about the community side of it. We've talked about the growth side of it. Let's just spend just a few minutes. Well, okay. Yeah, I feel like I need to answer one question that I know has come up when I was putting this together with my team and some people that I just sort of asked to give me some feedback who are, have been deeply involved in the platform. Somebody asked, okay, what is the difference between joining your live fellowship and joining your depth groups? I feel like I've already explained this, but just a couple of other points that I don't think I threw in there. Or if I did, it may not hurt to hear it another time. My depth and processing groups are topic oriented the first 2 semesters. Well, the first semester is personal faith expansion. It's working through the internal faith crisis. The second semester of my groups are focused around claiming our own beliefs on our own terms and negotiating complex relationships because of the faith expansion journey. And that's one that pretty much, I don't know too many people who haven't needed to have a little bit of support around how to navigate tough relationships because of their faith journey. The next sort of set of classes that I have called 3rd and 4th semester, but I'm actually revamping that curriculum so that people can actually take the patriarchy healing 2 semesters standalone. You don't have to, pretty soon, you won't have to take the faith expansion classes first, but these are a very, very deep dive into healing from the wounds of living in a patriarchal world and church. We go deeply into what feminine and masculine energies are, how to balance them and become the healthiest, most integrated human being that we can. And I also do a lot of depth work in better understanding the feminine divine and how feminine and masculine energies evolved from an evolutionary perspective. And that's just a little bit that covers a lot of content, but that is just very different than what we're going to be doing in the live fellowship. So that is curriculum based. It's a cohort. So when you start those groups, there might be a little bit of shuffling between semesters, but generally speaking, you'll be with pretty much the same people through the whole entire faith expansion 2 semesters and through the whole entire patriarchy healing 2 semesters. I offer, it's optional, of course. There are no tests and no grades, but I offer homework. There are several opportunities to create and share narratives, which are very, very important to the healing journey. And also in those groups, there is an explicit focus on safety and healing in the context of group work, which is very, very corrective for many of us, having never really been a part of a healthy small group situation. Also, something that's a little bit different, that differs between sort of the depth, faith expansion, and patriarchy healing groups and the Life Fellowship is in the depth groups. I am deep in the weeds with my team on the creation of a textbook for every single one of my groups, meaning that every single masterclass is going to be integrated into a textbook that eventually, pretty soon, will be included in your tuition. When you join the group, you will get a textbook. And also, as an add-on for those who are interested, there are going to be videos of every single masterclass that I teach in all 4 of those semesters. So needless to say, this is why I am trying to sort of streamline my processes, but also do so in a way that is meeting the needs of as many people as possible. So let's talk as we close up about logistics. Okay, so when is the live fellowship beginning? Pretty soon. So the first live fellowship gathering is going to be on Wednesday, February 18th at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. So keep in mind, those of you who are new to the game, well, maybe if you're new to the game, this won't even need to be, I should probably say to those who are old to the game, for a long time, ever since we started, I have been announcing things Central Time because I used to live in the Midwest. We recently moved to the West Coast, so everything you're going to hear now is Pacific Time. So just keep that in mind. Wednesday, February 18th, 9:30 a.m. Pacific Time. I was trying to hit lunch break for as many people as possible on that day. And that day, we will be discussing the series that Taylor Petrie and I will have just finished on the proclamation to the family. And that is a really, I mean, anytime I get to talk to Taylor is a good day for me. And so we talk about his scholarship on the proclamation, the history of the proclamation, and a recent op-ed that he wrote stating that the proclamation was perhaps better understood as commentary instead of revelation. And you can only imagine how interesting of a dialogue followed that. And so we actually really dig deep into all things connected to the history and some of even the language used in the proclamation. And I would love to have all of you join me for that one. I would love it so much that actually that very first like inaugural event of the Fellowship Live is going to actually be free. It's open to everyone. Okay, so if you want to come and sort of get a taste of this, check this out. Show up on February 18th, 9:30 Pacific. We'll talk about this. We'll dig into it. We'll maybe do a few questions, answers, and then we will divide you by regions to do some small group work or some just discussing, talking, getting to know one another. You can expect my portion with you to be about an hour, and then I will reserve about a half hour for the breakout groups. If I don't need my Zoom, you can stay on a little longer, but I will commit to you a half hour after the hour that we spend together. Or in other words, I should say an hour and a half total. If I go a little long, your small groups might be a little short, but either way, an hour and a half. The second live fellowship gathering is going to be on March 5th. That one is going to be focusing on a Friday series. I just will have finished a series where I'm interviewing a handful of people out there in the wild. They happen to have all been or are in my growth and processing groups. They're the ones I know the most, and I know their stories and their growth. And each and every one of them, there's 3 different people in this series that are going to talk about how they are integrating transcendence and inclusion of Mormonism into their lives. They're all in different places on their faith journey, and the areas where they are evolving and integrating are very, very different. And so we are going to be talking about that with them. So if you're kind of new to the Friday content, this is a perfect place to begin because it actually talks about the principles in practice. And so excited for that one. Okay. After that, when we meet, will be a little bit different. I want to sort of shuffle these around and have them on different days and on different times so that if you can't go to a certain time, you can always hopefully hit a different time. Something else that oftentimes is asked is, are these recorded? The answer to that is yes. Each and every one of these will be recorded and will live on my website for one full month. Because there are going to be many of them, we don't have the bandwidth and it's not very practical to keep them on there forever. But when you join the fellowship, you will be able to go backwards one month. And as long as you are current, you will always have access to the current one and the one that is not yet a month old. And yeah, so we want you to be able to catch these if you were not able to be there. So let's see if there's anything else. Oh, something else I wanted to just throw in there for those of you who might be curious. I've had many, as I've mentioned before, a few hundred people who have gone through my growth and processing groups, whether it be through the faith expansion or through the patriarchy healing. The content ends and they want more. And so, yay, I'm here to say this is something that you can do. This is relevant for wherever you are, whoever you are on your faith journey. And if you're further on, I would love to have you there because you will be somebody that can offer to others that are earlier on your perspective and your understanding of what it feels like to be earlier on in the faith journey. On the flip side of that, you may be somebody that is brand new to this space and are not quite sure about the depth healing, growth and processing groups quite yet. Or it may be that I just finished enrolling one and there isn't one happening for another 6 months, but you really, really want the connection and you want the support. And you can jump into this one at any time. So it's always open for anyone to jump into, and it's for anyone on the spectrum, whether they haven't yet begun or they're already through my other content. All right. Last but not least, something that matters a lot to me is also sort of this this balancing act of this being my job, my profession, my professional training, and needing to charge tuition for the scholarship and these resources that I offer, but also wanting as much as possible to have everyone that wants access to gain access. And this was partially, this conundrum was partially solved, or we're in the process of solving it as the word gets out, when I was approached by some wonderful people at a 501c3 nonprofit organization last year called the Faith Journey Foundation. They are nuanced Latter-day Saints who created this nonprofit so that they could support people exactly like what we do. And something that warmed my heart to no end was when I was talking to the founder of this foundation. He said, the Latter-day Struggles podcast is exactly the kind of content that we want spread far and wide. And we want everyone to have access to this because it's offering healthy, grounded, respectful, psychologically informed content to people of Latter-day Saints heritage or those who have deep connections through their conversion to the church and want somewhere to go to make sense of their deepening faith journey. And so to that end, we now offer scholarships to people who really want to be involved in what we offer, but lack the means. And I completely understand that for some of us, that will be us sometimes. And then down the road, we will be ones that will be able to actually contribute towards the Scholarship Foundation. And so if you're somebody who this sounds interesting to, and you just wish you could do it, but for whatever reason now is not feasible for you, please jump onto the Latter-day Struggles podcast. Sorry, let me say that differently. Please jump onto the Latter-day Struggles website and apply for a scholarship. And if you're somebody that wants to uphold me and Nathan and those who are perhaps earlier on the faith journey than you are, you can go to the same place and we will direct you towards how to be a part of this from the contribution perspective. And we love all of you on both sides, every side of this part of the endeavor. And it's I've been overwhelmingly grateful for those, well, first of all, for the Faith Journey Foundation itself, for reaching out, but also for those of you who have been consistently since the very beginning saying, how can I help you? Where can I donate? And of course, you know, an inexperienced early business owner, you know, I was like, I don't know. I don't have a means other than, you know, I didn't have a way from the nonprofit perspective or the tax deductible perspective. I didn't have that. And so God bless smarter people than myself who care about the things that I care about and who swooped in to help me and hopefully by extension you with this. So I want to just close with a quote by Ken Wilber, who has been very instrumental in my growth and development. And in some ways, his work has, I think, in some kind of saved me this last year of transition as so much has changed, and has my commitment to this cause has altered my life and the life of my family so much. But he talks about how civilization grows and evolves and wakes up one person at a time. So check this little quote out as I close today. He says this: "As for the coming transformation of consciousness itself, it is being built, as all past transformations have been, in the hearts and minds of those individuals who themselves evolve to this vision. For these individuals create the cognitive potential in the form of a new worldview that in turn feeds back into the ongoing mainstream of social institutions until the previously marginalized worldview becomes anchored in institutional forms that catapult a new collective consciousness to a new and higher order. The revolution, as always, will come from within and be embedded later in the without." Close quote. Put simply, there's only one way that institutions change their beliefs. They move away from dogma. There's only one way that hearts and minds open at a collective level in societies, in churches, in governments. And that is one individual waking up at a time. And as one individual wakes up at a time and they gather in small cohorts and talk about it, their influence and the energy of their increased capacity to love reverberates. And as time goes by, that catches on. And what happens that what used to be marginalized in the ways of beliefs becomes adopted, and culture itself changes. But it has to happen first in the soul of each and every one of us. And then as we collectively learn how to wrap words around it and talk about it, and our small little pockets become bigger and bigger, and what we talk about becomes normalized in culture at large. There's only one way that reform happens in any institution, inclusive of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and that is through you and I expanding our own consciousness, translating that into how to love better and more, talking to others, and allowing that wave of increased consciousness and love to reverberate outward and outward and outward until one day it will become normalized. That which was taboo, who knows, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, because we were talking about it here on the Latter-day Struggles platform, will someday become normal doctrine. But you and I are the ones that are going to be planting those seeds. And we can be planting those seeds in communities like this, because in communities like this is where we're learning how to wrap language around the growth and transformation that is happening within each and every one of us. So I hope that you join me. If you're already in the Friday Fellowship, what you've already paid towards that will actually be included towards your tuition to join the live fellowship, plus a little discount because you're my loyal people. So jump over to latterdaystruggles.com, or also jump over to Instagram, Latter-day Struggles, and learn more about this. And I cannot wait to see you at the first one coming up in February and beyond. Thank you so much for being my people. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Latter-day Struggles. Your support for this podcast is extremely valuable to us. If Valerie's work has made an impact in your life, please consider leaving a 5-star rating and review. For info on webinars, classes, support groups, and live events, click the link in today's show notes or visit our website at latterdaystruggles.com. Latter-day Struggles is a proud member of the Dialogue Podcasting Network.
Dialogue Podcast Network.